G'day everyone, welcome to Animal Tales with Tim Faulkner. That's me. Today, I'm talking about a little endangered marsupial, the PARMA wallaby. PARMA wallabies are a small marsupial. They have a pouch like all marsupials, and they live in eastern Australia. Now, they were presumed extinct until around the 1960s. It was thought that the fox had annihilated their populations. They were actually rediscovered by the Australian Reptile Park, just 50 kilometres from where I'm standing now, and they were brought back from the brink of extinction. They're now a species that is still very fragile and endangered in the wild, and a flagship species that Aussiark works with. Let's take a look at some of the external features of a PARMA wallaby. Now, PARMA wallabies are macropods. Macropod means large-footed. It's the whole family: kangaroos, wallaroos, wallabies, potoroos, paddymellons. They all have large feet. Now, let's start the PARMA wallaby's feet. So they've got that long foot, it's furred, and it's great for just taking small hops through the forest. They're not like a red kangaroo that lives out in the Great Plains. PARMA wallabies live in forests. Now, look at the tail. It's used for two things: counterbalance when they hop, and for them to be able to rest on. We come up the body, let's have a look at the camouflage, the fur. It's very basic, but it's brown, and it blends in with the background. Up to their front little paws, which are quite dexterous, and they use them to hold onto their food to eat, to pull little branches down or pick something up off the ground. Their hearing, really great sense of hearing. A very reasonable vision, a great sense of smell, and a petite little mouth. Now, they're mainly eating in the forest, and their diet consists of plants. Okay, they're herbivores. So they'll use their little arms to pull up a fresh shoot of grass or something from a small bush. And through doing that, they actually still facilitate a very important environmental role. Where you have PARMA wallabies, they eat bits and pieces of plants, and they keep the forest floor a little open. And that's helpful for a whole range of other species. The PARMA wallabies live in eastern Australia. In fact, only in New South Wales. They live in wet eucalypt forests. Now, often, beneath the wet eucalypt forest, you'll have some subtropical rainforest or temperate forest. And you come out of that and you get into your wet sclerophyll or your wet eucalypt. That's where PARMAs live. And it's one of the keys to the reason they're not extinct yet, because in that dense forest, they can hide from the feral pest like a fox. PARMA wallabies will live in small colonies. Now, typically they'll rest or sleep alone, unless it's a female with a joey, but they do live in loose colonies. PARMA wallabies are endangered because their populations have been really impacted by feral pests, mostly the feral fox. They've suffered from habitat destruction and fragmentation, being hit by cars, and many other things. But the reality is there are some really wild areas where PARMA wallabies still exist, and their major threat is the feral fox. Aussiark is situated in the Barrington Tops, and we have PARMA wallabies at Aussiark. We also have some wild populations close by that are very endangered, but it's one of Aussiark's flagship species. We want to return our sanctuaries, big parts of the Barringtons, to what they were 200 years ago. And what does that mean? We need to reintroduce the top order predator. We need to reintroduce the critical weight range mammals that have all disappeared, and one of them is our superstar, the PARMA wallaby. Being marsupials, they have a pouch. They have joeys. So the female and male will mate, and after a very short pregnancy, a little joey is born and it climbs into the pouch. Now, it lives in that pouch, cared for by mum, drinking milk, for about the first 6 months of its life. And then it will leave the pouch and start to wean. Now, depending on whether it's a little boy or a little girl, will normally decide how far away from mum it goes. A little male will disperse and leave its mum's territory, whereas a young female joey will normally stay close to mum in that loose colony. Now, PARMA wallabies also have native predators, but they've dealt with them for millions of years. But those native predators could be a diamond python, a powerful owl, a tiger quoll. And for your homework today, I would like you to do me a drawing. Please put a PARMA wallaby in an East Australian wet forest with big gum trees and ferns on the ground, and show me one or two of its native predators. The next bit of homework is something you'll have to research. Now, I'd like you to have a look at a PARMA wallaby and where it lives, and I want you to list for me 5 other species of mammal marsupial that live where Parma wallabies live. I'm not going to give you any clues. Just find 5 other mammals, marsupials, that live where Parma wallabies do. That's all for today. See you later. Thanks for watching, everyone. Now, the keepers and I are looking after all of our animals and our families. But we all have a bit of extra time at the moment, like you probably do too. So this is a great distraction for us, and hopefully you. If you like what you've seen or want to show me your homework, just put it into the comments. This is what I do, connecting people with nature, and that can't stop. I'll see you next time.